technology for the 3D. It takes a little getting used to because it's like there's two cameras and they have to just check the I/O every once in a while. And it's not that different, but just a little bit different. And you learn quickly, like, it's a technical marvel, like the fact that the cameras will photograph the same exact thing the same exact way, what your eyes do naturally. It took years and years to develop to make the cameras do it.
Cut! Once we're done shooting a scene, you can just walk 15 feet away, get yourself into a pod, put on some glasses, and watch your scene in 3D.
A lot of our sets, we made the decision not to build full sets. We would put in green screens, and we would do set extensions.
Roger that.
If you take the link room, for example, we only built one side of that set. It was a mirror image on the other side, and we were able to fill that in digitally.
Where we are right now is one end of the armor bay, and it goes, you know, about 50 feet. You realize that the armor bay is probably 10 times as long as we have it. It's absolutely filled with heavy weapons and amp suits.
There's your man. See you on the flight line.
Our probably biggest gag on this will be the motion base we built for the Samson. It's huge, you know, it's the size of a bus. So. We also have the Samson in the back lot, which is going to be hung from a large crane.
It's really cool. They basically land the thing. Well, the guys jump out just before it, like, hit the ground. I don't know how many feet in the air. It was probably about 40. And they turn on these massive fans to make all of the foliage in the ground move.
It's been the whole gamut of effects, really. Things breaking, simulated helicopter flight, bullet hits, fire.
3, 2, 1, Garrett sent me down his stunt breakdown, different gags that were related to those scenes. Door gunners are getting pulled out of Samson choppers by Banshees. Also some stuff that happens in the Dragon. Multiple stunts and sequences where troopers are getting taken out. Probably the most technical movie I've been on. A challenge for everybody, but I think it's going to be a wicked product at the end.
I have to say, these stunt guys, I mean, they really gave us their all. There's such a great spirit there in New Zealand. The energy they bring, the excitement.
The live-action shoot, as it turned out, was exhausting. It was a 7-day-a-week process while we were down in New Zealand. So the shoot in New Zealand, which everybody thinks of as an exotic, easy location, was none of that.
I just want to say thank you very much for making this a long and grueling shoot, but a wonderful shoot, in the sense that I really appreciate the energy and the workmanship of the spirit. No matter how long the hours got, everybody still pulled hard, and I think I'm on my way.
As we were saying our goodbyes on the set, the stunt coordinator came up and said, the stunt team has something that they'd like to give you.
It's gonna hurt. Challenge.
And I turned around, and here they all were, these New Zealand stunt guys. Some were Maori, some were not Maori, but they were all New Zealanders, and they had all worked on this haka. Apparently what this haka does, if translated, is it challenges you to continue to do your best. And that was their way of thanking me. And they handed me the taiaha, which is the ceremonial staff. And that was their way of saying, New Zealand thanks you for bringing this project here and for making us a part of it. And it was a very, very emotional moment.
We'll be back. All right. Let's see you back. Thank you.
The whole time I was in the volume, I said, you know, if I was shooting this, it'd be so easy. You guys just spent 5 minutes trying to move one light 20 degrees around the subject. And if I was there, I could reach over and move it myself, and it would take 20 seconds. Then I got to live action shooting and, you know, moving big objects around in the background. And I said, you know, if this was CG, I could have moved that in 30 seconds. So the whole time I was shooting the virtual camera, I was complaining that it wasn't live action. The whole time I was doing the live action, I was complaining that it wasn't CG. By the time I got back to doing virtual production again, after the live action, I just kept my mouth shut. What I realized is that they're both hard, and they're completely different. So you have to have a good team that knows one discipline and a good team that knows the other discipline.
After the live action filming was completed, most movies are done. We still had a tremendous amount of scenes that we had captured performances on that we had not yet done camera on.
These would play back on the stage with Jim and the virtual camera.
Hey, yeah, please.
So now the actors are gone, and he's out there with this virtual camera playing back their performances from sometimes months before.
Let's do a take.
Over here. Ready?
And playback.
When he looked through the lens of the virtual camera, it was as if those actors were there giving him the performances live.
Yeah, beautiful thing.
He would now go and create the actual shots that became the movie.
Action.
So after all the frenzy and activity of a live action shoot,
Lifting.
and it's just me with the virtual camera out on a big empty stage for a year. It was a year of this, shooting these cameras.
Cut, say that, please.
Now you've actually got sort of dailies for the first time, actual shots to cut with. Now you edit the scene, get that the way you want it. And then that edited cut is what goes to Weta for them to finish.
We called that the template. We would see kind of where he put his light, where the compositional elements were, how the art direction was laid out. Basically, Jim handed that over to us as a master guide for what he wanted the shots and the scenes to look like.
Weta is only building what we're sending them instead of building out shots, and instead of going through these massive amounts of iterations with lighting tests and all these other things. We're giving them something that's much more concise, to the point. This is the length of the shot, here's the motion, and here's the camera.
And we just followed that, and we would start replacing that with all the high resolution elements.
Weta were able to field a team of some of the best animators in the world. And it sort of broke down into two separate areas. One was the creatures, and the other one was the characters, where they were animating from captured performances.
Traditionally, when people think of animators, they think of someone who's gonna add life to something that's inanimate. Where Avatar comes in, we're not asking our animators to create the performance. The performance has already been created by the actor.
Think fast. Motor control's looking good.
You take a character like Neytiri, and the idea is that the audience just has to fall in love with this character. When she smiles, there has to be a connection between her smile and the audience.
It really is a collaboration. It's working with the actors and then working with the animators to bring the character to the screen.
I see you.
I see you. We have to figure out how to maintain that integrity, maintain that performance, so that the characters you see on the screen are really what the performance was intended to be.
We had the actors on set at Weta Digital. We scanned them with our own software, and that's when we were able to take 60, 70 different fax poses from them, default states, eyes looking left and right, up and down. Any kind of data we could get from the actor just to make sure that the eyes really did feel like Zoe and Sam.
The eye motion and the eyes, it's something that's kind of overlooked in a lot of animation films. Our eyes work independently of our bodies and our heads. They also do these little subtle movements. That was another thing we looked for with the reference. It's one of the reasons why the eyes came to life in Avatar. We studied all those details and we made sure they were in there. We made sure Neytiri's eyes were locked on Jake when she was arguing with him.
What are you saying, Jake? You knew this would happen?
Yes.
But the real trick to it was figuring out what they call the rig. And the rig is how they program the facial muscles to work. And we all have the same facial muscles, but they're in different proportions, and the way in which they fire, meaning how your brain controls your face, is different for every person. And this took months and months for each character, and it had to be done individually for each character.
I will stand and fight.
The reference cameras play an integral part in how we evaluate, study the detail within each performance. As good as our facial capture system is, if we really wanted to just see the subtleties on somebody's face, there's nothing better than just seeing a close-up, high-def video of that.
They live, Jake. Within Awa.
The stress with the animators was to actually animate to the reference camera, and then we'd make sure the performance looks the same, or all the details are in there.
Navia. Luyo.
And then we go back to the actual shot camera and see if there's anything lost. Usually you had gained a lot by doing that.
85% of this is taking from the actors their performances and preserving them in their computer-generated characters.
I see you.
I see you.
But that last 15% requires animators to come in and add things like the tail and the ears. You had to study cat and dog and other animal behavior and incorporate that into how the ears moved, how the tails moved. We studied lions, and we incorporated that into our character. So in a way, the animation is a turbocharger on top of this whole facial capture idea.
You should not be here.
When Neytiri is furious with Jake, her ears flatten out and her tail's going back and forth. So there's a total character that's created. The animators have taken what the actors are doing and gone even beyond that. And it's a lot of fun to watch.
How you feeling, Jake?
Hey, guys. It is my performance. This thing walks and talks and acts like me. And it's my interpretation. Even though I'm big, 9 foot tall and blue, it's got my personality. It's got my soul.
By the numbers.
Jake!
Jake!
Listen to me. You're not used to your avatar body. This is dangerous.
This is great.
Zoe really enjoys watching the footage of her as Neytiri, because Neytiri is this creature that's of her, created by her, but it's apart from her as well.
She looked so sexy. She was so cut and long and lean. I was like, damn.
The first sequence that we turned over to Weta Digital, we turned over in February of 2007. We did not get it back until May of 2008.
Those first shots that I finaled, which was the scene where we first see Neytiri and she draws the bow and the wood sprite comes down and lands, they were so gorgeous that all of a sudden it was this moment of, holy crap, that looks real. She looks completely real. And then we just sit there and go, hey, look at that. Finaling those first 10 or 11 shots in that scene was absolutely critical. That's the moment where we knew this movie was going to work. We didn't know yet if we could get all the other 2,600 shots done, but we knew we could make a real character.
We were cutting the whole movie together, and in the summer of 2008, a full year and a half before the movie was released, we sat down for the first time to watch a full cut of the then existing movie. And the movie at that time was very, very long.
So the film was like a mosaic of scenes that were in various stages. So you'd have scenes that were in a pre-cut and then something that was in a virtual camera cut next to something that was turned over 6 months ago that was in animation level, and it was hard to watch.
We had to cut the film shorter because it wasn't quite gelling up. It always felt too long making its points, and I kept surgically taking little bits out here and there. And, you know, we eventually wound up cutting out about 40 minutes of film from the time we first screened it for ourselves a year earlier to the time we finished the cut.
There was a point where we had been hoping to just be able to handle the whole film ourselves. But Jim handed us a cut that was about 45 minutes longer than the one that got released. And it still had a lot of character work in it. We said, okay, if we focus only on this character work, that's more work than we thought we were going to be doing, and it's too late for us to gear up to do the other work.
We made the decision to pull work in late 2008, but we didn't get the approval to do it until spring of 2009. So these shots were just lying in wait, the work building up, Jim stressing out about it.
Yeah, okay, so you still have some tech work to do on contact, shadows, and reflection. And it was a nail-biter. The whole movie was a nail-biter in terms of getting things done, because we were always missing these deadlines that we kind of made up out of nowhere. Let's do this by this date. Because we sort of knew if we didn't do that by that date, we wouldn't get this done over here.
ILM took the most number of shots and the most complicated shots, and their shots had to seamlessly fit in with Weta's work in the end battle. Other sequences were standalone sequences, where we would get companies like Hydraulics, Framestore, or Hybrid, and the other visual effects vendors, a complete sequence that they would deliver to us.
Because of the way this film was done and how long it took to finish shots, we were in a constant state of deadline for, I think, a year and a half to 2 years.
Fire. 3, 2, 1, action.
Basically, for the last part, we were kind of in a marathon run. We couldn't back off the throttle. And we actually went back and shot a little more live action again later after our last capture. So it sort of went capture, live action, a lot of capture, little tiny bit of live action at the end.
Action.
This particular shot, we got a live action Stephen Lang, where we had to extract that off the green screen, put it together with the digital Jake, combine it with the atmospherics, the digital jungle, everything else. The rebreather face masks in all of these shots as well was digital because it's glass. You're reflecting all of the studio lighting instead of the actual jungle that didn't exist.
With Avatar, we had to do everything. There were vehicles, there were creatures, there were characters, there were jungles, nighttime, daytime, clouds, weather, rain, anything that you could think of, we had to create. It covered the whole gamut.
The first 13 shots we did for the movie took a year, and after that it was sort of a exponential curve up, and we were delivering 200 shots a week at the end.
And what we had to teach ourselves was that there was a process of development, and the slower we went at the beginning, the more Weta was able to learn and improve the infrastructure.
Which actually worked okay because we got better and better and better as we got toward the end. So we could actually go faster and faster. So even though we sort of backloaded the whole schedule, we had learned how to go fast enough to be able to compensate for it.